Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. So this is my end of May wrap up. Whew, a lot of things happened in May. I'm trying to think where to begin, but I think probably I'm chewing some gum. I'm not liking this very much. Sorry. Okay. That's maybe a little better. I don't know. I have all of this chewing gum that I just found, and I was like, oh, I haven't chewed gum in a long time because, you know, usually I would only do that in social situations where I was like worried that I hadn't brushed my teeth enough or something. Anyway, yeah. So the first thing I'll start with is I continued and have continued this month to work with, if anyone's been watching, and some of you have, with the Mo divination. I'm like, oh, see, it's Mo divination. How would you know? Yeah, it's because it's, you know, full of brain farts today. But yeah, this is, proven to be fascinating. Really, really fascinating. And for example, when I pulled, the other day when I pulled Manjushri Appears, it's like right in front of me. It was interesting because the practice I did right before it, he sort of came forward like a lot more luminous and like right out of the sky, you know, because you visualize, you do your best to visualize the deity as they're, you know, before you do the practice. So as I'm visualizing him, you know, coming out of the sky, he was like a lot more luminous and maybe even more compassionate and more like luminous is the word I want. I didn't think much about it. I just thought maybe my visualization work was better that day than usual, so I just didn't think much of it. But then the next time I did another divination, which I think was on Buddha's birthday, just to get a sense of like what the look and feel of the full moon and the blood moon and the eclipse and everything was going to be for the next coming weeks. I had like more of a wrathful image of him. So like he comes out holding his, you know, holding the sword of wisdom there, the flaming sword of wisdom. And instead of kind of holding it, you know, in a way that's like, hey, I'm holding this thing and it represents something. It was more like I'm holding this thing and I'm, you know, I'm not coming in peace. And that was, of course, that really was in keeping with the divination. Yeah, the mountain of sand, yeah, your aims are spoiled and thrown about just as dust is scattered by the wind. I mean, it wasn't like I'm coming at you, but it definitely was not a peaceful emanation. Like even the expression on his face, as I recall, wasn't very peaceful looking. So that was fascinating. Kind of a new development in the whole process that I wasn't expecting. I just finished I've just started and I'm in the midst of a series of videos looking at different foundational concepts in Buddhism and finding tarot spreads or creating tarot spreads that correspond with them in order to kind of deepen one's own path and one's own self-awareness. I think a lot of times people come to spirituality hoping to find a way not to have to suffer as much, which must mean that if I believe enough in something that's better or bigger than me, maybe it won't be quite so bad. Sorry, something over here distracted me and I just had to deal with it. There we go. And that isn't really the way it works. The way it works is you know, we have to go in a lot more deeply. And I thought, well, what would be a great way to do that with the tarot? Well, we could, you know, look at what the causes of suffering are and so forth. So I've released 3 videos so far. Those are also the ones that I filmed, but I've worked on a couple more spreads already, and I have ideas for several more. So look for more of those to be coming out. That will continue for a while, I think. It seems to be a body of work that's coming forth. But I'll link to those videos below so that if you're interested in those spreads or videos, they're down there. I have a new deck organizing system that has drawers. So maybe at some point I'll show it like on camera, but right now that would involve too much. But suffice to say, it has these nifty drawers. Each of the drawers came with like a black kind of felt thing on the bottom, but it's perfect for like storing a couple of decks, especially if they're corresponding decks. So great little gateway there to talk about one of my favorite decks this last month, which is the Shadowlands Tarot. It's quickly becoming a go-to favorite. I've used it for myself. I've used it with clients. It's a very balanced deck. The illustrative style, I think, is really cute and just fun and witty. And I love the line work, and I love the use of color. I love the cute little characters and how they are. You know, I really, really love her take on these cards, right? Three of Swords is one we hate. We tend to hate the Three of Swords. But how can you hate this dude? How can you hate this awesome cool crow with his sunglasses and his fabulous shoes and his yellow sweater and his pincushion necklace? I mean, you know, she's coming to this, you know, with the Eight of Pentacles from a place of deep knowledge of the RWS system, as well as her own vision. And it feels like the cards have a lovely balance of light and dark. They're playful but serious. They're spooky but cute. It's a great combo. It's a really great combo. And it stops, you know, it's great if you're doing hard work, you know, readings that are going to be kind of hard work, because it will keep you from getting too buried, you know, too deeply in your head. Something I did not think to do earlier in the month when I was playing with them, and really realized later would have been a great idea, was to pull out her House of Shadows Lenormand. So she's also got this adorable one. I think the 5th edition is about to come out soon. I'm going to put all of the links and info in the box below so you can find Monica. She has also a YouTube channel that I love. She just finished training or certification in being a herbalist. She's fascinating. There always has new insights, new spreads, interesting and unusual takes on things. She's very down to earth. And just is wonderful. So I will link all of Monica's info in the box. But you can see, like, it is a Lenormand, but it's also a really, really fantastic oracle. And I don't know why I didn't think to bring it out and use it with, but I just wasn't there. It wasn't there yet. Also comes with a little booklet, you know, and so forth. Really well worth it. So that is one of the decks I've enjoyed this month, and I think I'll continue to work with in June. Last summer, I found a version of the Buddha Tarot, or a copy. You know, it's out of print, I'm sorry, but it's coming back. It is coming back. But I found a copy of it, and it was not the most, I've seen it like really super expensive, and this one was not. And so I went ahead and sprung for it. And I'm so glad I did, because the way that Robert in Place like works with, it's really, he's combining the way that he views tarot from a more alchemical place, and he's combining it with various aspects of Mahayana Buddhism and really very strongly from Tibetan Buddhism. So all of it really resonates. He has had to change a few things here and there to make the two systems come together so that it's not purely in harmony with tarot. And it's not purely in harmony, although it is more so with tarot than it is with the Vajrayana, but it's close. It's close. Like the Three of Vajras, it's the Three of Swords. He's got an arrow through the heart, right? So we can see where that overlap is, right? For example, the suit of double Vajras, which is replacing the cups in the mandala of Tibetan Buddhism, is ruled by air, the element of air, not the element of water. So the element of water and air have been reversed. So this suit of Vajras should have been water, with this one being air, and he's flip-flopped them, and it works. I mean, conceptually, it works really, really well for, you know, this would be the Five of Cups, you know, works very, very well. Very, very well. So this would be the Ahimsa hand. This Five of Lotuses would be the Five of Wands. So this would be about, you know, conflict and anti-violence, and right. So there is the overlapping. Yeah, I want to do a series of videos that demystifies the two systems and the ways that they come together to create this deck, and walk everybody through that, because I think it's really fun and cool. And this has become my I love this deck so much. I stumbled with it initially when I first got it last summer, and then at a certain point I stopped and I was like, what am I stumbling over? This isn't hard. I know these two systems, and it's just a matter of like, where do they diverge or where do they change? And I could easily look through and recognize that, even just through daily readings or through a client reading or reading, you know, trying a spread out or something. It's very, very straightforward for me because of knowing both systems, and then seeing the way that Place is combining them. I did go ahead and get his two of his other decks and his thick, you know, the big book that goes with them. This is the book I'm talking about. Sorry, cat hair is on everything. The Tarot of the Sevenfold Mystery and the Alchemical Tarot Renewed 5th edition, the quintessential edition. They are utterly marvelous. So I have used them and worked with them just a little bit, and read through some of his book already. It is really stunningly beautiful, and when you order it from him, he signs it. You know, that's, I mean, what else can you say? It's so beautiful. So I will one day own every one of his decks, at least one copy. What I've loved about working with this version of the deck, with this older one, is that the cardstock, you know, we all sit and grump and moan about cardstock and everything. What I have found personally is that the cardstock in a particular deck, like the older ones, these things will hold up to anything. I mean, I had an old deck in the 90s that had really similar cardstock. It's in fact behind me on that shelf, behind that Semi-Wrathful Tara in the there it is, in the High Priestess box. That one, even though it's like kind of scummy and it's a little fluffy, that thing held up for years and years and years of regular daily use and abuse, like riffle shuffling abuse. At a certain point, I realized that riffle shuffling was going to damage it, and so I switched over to like overhand shuffling that was very, very gentle as a means of working with it so that it would last longer, because that was when I still believed you could only ever have one deck that you worked with. So my other decks were more like reference and play, but that was the real one. The things we get sucked into, I mean, it's amazing. On every level, yeah. But at any rate, that cardstock in the old-fashioned decks, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Let's not knock it. Especially if you're a riffle shuffler, because you can shuffle those things from here to eternity, and they will just keep working. So there's that. Then, oh yes, I was going to say, there have been a lot of requests and questions and people about, was I ever going to finish my Marielle series? And then in recent months, there have been quite a few people who have left comments on those videos. And if you're one of them, forgive me. I'm getting back to, after doing some of my Buddha spreads, I was like, why wouldn't I be getting back to comments? I love to read people's comments. Why would I think of that as like something to, you know, just looking at my own tendencies, right? And so I've been going back through comments and being much more attentive to them in general. So, yeah, I've noticed just how many comments over the last few months there have been about that Marielle series. And I really did intend to finish it. Last year was just really, really awful and hard, as many of us found. And everything got flipped upside down. I'm now feeling like I really would love to continue that series. And I feel like, having continued to work with the deck, because it is my sort of go-to deck, that I will carry on. And I will have even more insights to offer about how different cards tend to come up in readings and various other things, in addition to just, hey, here's how she's drawing these concepts together and so forth. Another deck I worked with relatively deeply and would like to continue to work with in June is the Bone, Stone, and Earth Flesh Tarot. So these are the backs by none other than the Avalon Cameron, whose work I continue to appreciate a great deal. I've had some very, very deep personal readings with this deck. I have not tried working with it with a client yet. I'm not ready for that, but I know that this is a deck that would be great for really deep spiritual readings. Like, it wants to dive into the depths. It's, oops, I did a, ooh, look at that blood moon. We just had it. I just did a really wonderful interview with this deck not that long ago, a couple weeks ago, and it just blew me away. The accuracy, the intelligence, it was really exciting to work with. So yeah, so I'm going to carry on my exploration and work with this deck. God, I love that one. And enjoy working with it. Right now it's housed in a drawer with the HooDoo Tarot. So I may as well mention the HooDoo Tarot. I think I did a couple of readings with the HooDoo Tarot this last month. I must have this upside down. And the beautiful Kim from Abundant Life Tarot is doing a study group with the HooDoo Tarot, and I'm excited. It starts 4th of June, so this coming Friday. If you're watching this at the end of May, or well, it'll be the beginning of June by the time I post it. So begins very shortly. And I'm really excited. I love this deck. I'm fascinated by the tradition. I'm really fascinated too by the way that I continue to be really drawn to working with this deck as well. Clearly smelling it is part of that with all decks. I mean, yes, I love all of them, but yeah. That one's, I'm excited about that. So I will put that info and the links in the box below as well. That will involve some social media. So, but I don't mind because I'm not having to drive it. I'm just participating. So that feels better somehow. I don't know why, but yeah. Funny how my brain works with all of that. I don't know quite why that is the case. Boop. Okay, moving on. And as everybody found toward the end of the month, I'd put this one up for a while because I thought, well, I'm ready to move on to other things now. But the Bosch Tarot, which, oh, it smells so good. Oh, it smells like library books, you know? Oh, it smells so good. Yeah, the Bosch Tarot continues to be a source of delight and enjoyment, and I don't know what else to say. It was a great purchase. I'm really glad I got it. It's pretty brilliant. It is really pretty brilliant. It does read well. It reads a number of different ways, and it opens up interpretations that I'm often surprised to hear things coming out of my mouth because of what gets sparked when I read with it. So for whatever that's worth, lots of buttholes, lots and lots of butt stuff in this deck. Has a certain sense of humor to it and craziness, and is also kind of oddly way before its time, or way ahead of its time in so many ways. Like, he was thinking of and seeing, I mean, I don't know. Dude was kind of crazy in a wonderful way. The other day, the Bosch playing card deck by Sunish Chabba just came out, and I had gotten a copy of that because I was in that place of like, yeah, support everybody, get all the decks. At the end of last year, late last summer, middle of 2020, and so I ended up getting this playing card deck too. Playing card decks are usually really pretty inexpensive, so I don't feel bad about that at all. It reads beautifully with the tarot, I will say that. I couldn't believe how well it read with the tarot deck. I did the weekly reading for the week. The first end of May, beginning of June week with this deck, and it read, I hate that card, I don't like that one. It read beautifully. It's got quite a personality and sense of humor. It's the same card stock as the tarot, pretty much. I don't know if there really is that much difference in thickness, but they're both that like lovely linen poker card stock that just shuffles like a dream. So both decks, like once I got this one broken in, they both shuffle like a dream. And if you like to riffle, they're just designed for that, but they will overhand just as beautifully. So good fun times. I think that means that I'll probably end up keeping this one out for the month of June, simply because now it has a friend to play with. Yeah, and then coming up in the month of June, I may as well pull these out. As always, because it's Pride Month. I love Pride Month. I'm going to be using the Numinous Tarot. And I did pull the Numinous out a little bit last month. But June is the month where this becomes like the main deck. So when I read, I will be reading with, read clients. I'll read with this one a lot. I just love it so much. Weeklies and so forth. Yeah, we'll be having a good time with it. It's just such a fun, happy, gentle, loving, accepting, straight-talking deck. And it's just kind of genius, and I love it. I love it. I think they're coming out with another one or another version of it. I need to make a note to remember to link Cedar McCloud's info below, but I know that their website is Numinous Spirit Press, and that's where they publish their decks, their books, prints, all of their artwork is there. And there's also the Threadbound Oracle, whose little tiny book is here in my stash. This one is totally different card stock. I do think every now and again I forget, and then I'm like, oh, that's right, I wanted to edge this. I have a matching like yellow color that would be really pretty on here. I just haven't done it yet. But this is a brilliant deck, and I love it. And the more I've played with it, this has been out for a couple months now, in terms of I've been playing with it and working with it for a couple months. And the more I work with it, the more I love it. Yeah, it's just so genius. I love it so much. And yeah, we're having such a good time. So yeah, I will continue to work with it because I'll be working with it along, using it alongside the Numinous, because the Numinous is such a great deck. Again, very compassionate, archetypal, all of those things. So that's a good one too for both clients and self. That's one where I'm like, yep, I will use them for both, and it's just great. I love it. Oh yeah, and one that I feel called back to and have not really been using this month except here or there, but have been wanting to, and kind of I've carried it around a little bit here and there and intended to work with it, and then I don't know. I need the book, and I don't need the book, if you see what I'm saying. But I've had it's the Devas of Creation, a deck that's you may not even know that I had, because I don't think I ever talked about it. It's upside down. Here we are. That is a planetary Deva. But yeah, this is going to be very poor quality as a walkthrough here, but it's one of Siliconway's decks. I know that the multi-dimensional Devas is out, and I know that at some point I really want that one. And I would also like to get the Shimmering Veil. I just have not done it yet. Again, I keep trying to put the lid on it and not get more decks. And, the truth of the matter is that while the market is so oversaturated right now, there are some where I know there are ones that I deeply wish to work with, read with. There's some that instantly strike me as like, oh, this one is that I'll watch a walkthrough and know in my gut I need to work with that one because the way it sparks something straight away. So this is one of the ones that had that effect on me. I adore it. I will need to edge it because it does chip the way the cardstock is. You know, these are kind of irritating things that are just truthful and real. Like, I think you can kind of see, especially like as I'm holding them here and so on, that like the edges are definitely chipped and chipping. And just edging the deck with a marker of some kind really tends to make that less of a feature. It tends to make that less of a feature. That's a good way to put it. But any amount of shuffling in any kind with this type of cardstock, it's very kind of cardboardy, will tend to make that happen. That said, I still really love it. I know that I will continue to make use of it, and I really felt called this month to work with it. There have been a number of different, it's probably a separate video, but there have been a number of different people and authors and sort of thinkers who have put stuff out over the last couple of years about devas and what they are, how they function, etc., that resolve a lot of things for me in theory and in reality, and connect a lot of experiences and make them more accessible. So if that's something you want to hear about, let me know. I sometimes think that my experiences like that are just not really that interesting to anybody besides me. But I've had to be humble about that and learn that actually, no, that's not true. You know, there is value in sharing one's experiences. So did I get through everybody in there? I did. All right, moving along. Oh, yes. So I have continued the last month to work with the Spirit Keepers Tarot, which is one I do not put in my little shelves because I like to keep it in its box. And it feels right to have it in its box. It feels like that's where it needs to be. I'm sure it was designed that way because it has become very apparent in working with this deck that she really did program it, and it really is programmed to function a certain way, to do certain things, to awaken certain aspects of understanding about the tarot and about all kinds of stuff. So these are the backs. This is the Vitruvian version. So this is unfortunately not available unless you find it for an astronomical price through a third party who, you know, bought multiple copies or something and is selling it. So I could do that. I've never wanted to. I ordered my one copy knowing that at some point it was going to become a valuable asset spiritually, and the time was right, and it is. It really is. So I had, at the time I got this one, I was deep diving Marielle and other things and learning that there was so much more into, you know, about tarot and with tarot than just simply Tarot de Marseille and Rider-Waite-Smith, right? Because that was all I really knew, and I just knew iterations of Rider-Waite-Smith and iterations of Tarot de Marseille, and that was really it. Who knew? I didn't. I just wasn't paying attention. So I was heavily involved in that and in wanting to take in every deck I possibly could in 2019 so that I could really just see. I'm endlessly fascinated with the way that different creators and artists view the tarot, how they process it, how they feel moved to illustrate it. That is a never-ending source of fascination for me. I think it is for a lot of us. But that was what stopped me from being ready to deep dive that deck. Then last year I wasn't deep diving anything except getting through working with my client and the hell of 2020. I had bought SKT, 22 weeks with the SKT at that point and hadn't done anything with it. When I realized that the third edition was going to come out, I knew I was going to want that one as well. So I thought, well, I've got to get on top of this one as soon as I can. I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much. I have the Book of Maps. I have the medium white book. I have, I'd also bought the tarot journal that comes with it, which has been great. notes for the videos and all of that stuff. It's just such a comprehensive, amazing deck. And when she says that she has programmed each of the 3 significators, the Fool significators, to function in particular ways, having now worked with all 3 of them, I can absolutely verify that that is the case. And I don't know quite how to talk about it. This is probably not the venue for it anyway, but yeah, suffice it to say that all of the work with both the deck and with, with her books and her guidance and so forth, it has really been pretty profound. I know that after I do, work with this one and start working with the Revelation edition, which thankfully, I know she's had to postpone shipping by like a month or something. It kind of gave me like more of a relief, because it was like, whew, I got a little bit more time to get on top of that before it comes in. That said, I have already ordered the book of maps from Lulu, so I'm super geeked about that coming in. The studies this year are just so rewarding. I'm having so much fun. If you've read with RWS or Thoth or both, you will instantly know how to work with that deck. And it will deepen everything you know about each one of them. I made a Thoth journal here, with all my pretty colors and color-coded everything. Including my Kabbalah Tree of Life thingy reference. And it really wasn't, I started to get it when I was working with the Thoth, which I still do. I haven't been of late, right? I pick things up and put them back down, which can be frustrating for some people. It's just the way my brain works. I pick something up, I look at it, I hit a stumbling block, I put it down, I sit and think, something else floats into my life that I'm asked to pay attention to. And then suddenly it fills in gaps that I didn't even knew were the ones that I was looking to fill. And I pick something back, I pick up the thing I dropped and go, oh, I know where that's about now. And then all of it falls into place and I move merrily on my way, and that's how it goes. Suffice it to say, that is kind of what's happened here. So I put the Thoth down with the intent of picking it back up, but kind of just starting to get into and understand a lot of the Hermetic Kabbalah concepts. For whatever reason, it was still confounding me when, and it really confounded me while I was working with the Marielle, but because I read and reread and reread and reread the Marielle and was used to hearing those concepts, or at least reading them, and I was familiar with them, they became more familiar with the Thoth. Now that I'm working on the Book of Maps and the Spirit Keepers, it's like it's clicking into place. So a lot of Thoth-based stuff is clicking into place as a result of working with the SKT. And then finally, something that I've become really fascinated with recently is working with dowsing and pendulums. So I have a new pendulum. It is copper, and it is plated in gold, apparently. I just got it on Amazon, and it's got this beautiful little little thingy with crystals on it. And I think the company itself is called Spirit Hunter, but it comes in this. And, a colleague that I work with the chiropractor is an extraordinary pendulum dowser. She pulls out a book of charts and she can read this way, that way, the other way, and so forth, then do like radiate healing and it's amazing stuff. So she's got me on a path where I'm like, holy shit, what is this? And how do I do it? So right now I'm just going back to the beginning because I've had a lot of trouble with pendulums in the past. It's funny, when I was doing the water witching as a kid, we used the copper. That was not hard. But working with pendulums that have gemstones in them, I just can't seem to get them to function with any level of consistency. So I got a really basic metal one with a book and a kit and like charts and everything. And I was working with it and having so much fun, and then I lost it. It was just a really basic brass one. No frills, no nothing, and it worked beautifully. I lost it. I still don't know where it is. Maybe I'll use this one and see if I can locate it. But I just don't know what happened. It just disappeared. I should roll the Mo. I should roll the Mo and see what happened to my lost pendulum. That's a good idea because there's always like a lost object section. Okay, so that's another new little aspect to the journey there. I also forgot to mention, I think I mentioned this last time, I've been working with the Visionary I Ching cards too. They're great. They're beautiful. They're really attractive. I should probably put last week's card in here before I do my new weekly reading. But yeah, they're so pretty. And yeah, I'm just very slowly getting to know the I Ching and how it functions and works and corresponds with tarot through Benebel's deck. And eventually I'll be able to really examine it in greater depth. But like with Hermetic Kabbalah, it was just really useful and helpful to, for whatever reason, to do that slowly. I don't know, and kind of just have it as a concept thrown into things over time where it keeps being repeated and correlated with other things, so it's going in gradually, you know. That seemed to be a very helpful aspect to it. Runes were different. Runes were like bim bam boom, snap into place, and suddenly I understood them. And I love them still. I have also been pulling runes weekly. I have this pretty rune set here that I work with. I have decks as well that I also work with and really love. But, you know, these are made of, oh, shoot, I can't remember now what the stone is. It's this one. Geez. Ruby kyanite, ruby, I think it's ruby kyanite. I don't know why I wanted this stone for runes, but it has continued to be like the one that I reach for when I'm going to work with runes. And I'm not just reading them like on the street, like as found, you know, found runes, which I still do and still take pictures. I just don't post about it. It's become more of an internal process on a daily basis, or however often it kind of comes up and bites me or goes, hey, you know, I'm this rune, you need to know and recognize me right now. That still happens. And I still work with them that way most frequently. So on a regular basis. And there's more to come. I'm building some things behind the scenes here that just haven't been fully fleshed out that I'll share soon. All right, folks, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll see you again for whatever comes next. Take care. Bye.